Well, hello everyone and welcome to your Monday's edition of Reptile News. Now let's start with some bad news first. Apparently, Australia Zoo is facing some pretty extreme debt problems, and a previous receptionist there says if something is not done quickly, that they're going to face closure. Now the zoo cites a drop in tourism for recently letting go 22 employees, but people close to the situation, the former curator says that's not the thing at all. It was mismanagement of projects, and apparently it just, everything kind of started to spiral out of control after Steve Irwin, their main breadwinner, died. And according to the ex-curator, Steve had a lot of big plans and dreams for the zoo, but these were only things that he could execute, and they've been kind of riding on the back of Terry and Bindi, which they don't believe can do it. Now moving on, a 14-year-old Australian boy apparently was taken by a crocodile. He was swimming with his brothers in an unnamed creek somewhere, and he raised an alarm and hasn't been seen since. They say that they're having a hard time getting rescuers out there because of the inaccessibility of the area with the wet conditions. They can't get there by road, so they're having to fly people in, but you know, hope is pretty low that they're going to find them alive at least. Now let's move on to some good news. An announcement for an expo if you live near Ontario. Sudbury, correct me if I don't pronounce that properly, Exotic Pet Show is taking place on April 17th. The doors open at 9 and close at 4:30 p.m. Vendor setup is at 7 a.m. and they currently have a lot of vendor areas open, so you know, get a hold of them. The link's in the description to go to the Daily Reptile News website and get all the contact information. And apparently it's a pretty sweet story actually coming out of Canada with some of the stuff that we've been hearing lately about my Copcraft and just the bad news. Apparently they did it last year and the city had asked them to return this year and do it again, so good news, yeah. And a little bit funnier news, but not so funny for a 51-year-old Chinaman. Apparently he sat on his toilet and was bitten in the yin-yang, I guess, by a snake that was in his toilet. He got up and, you know, he saw the snake there. The snake was captured. It was, I guess, some sort of rat snake. And he was taken to the hospital with minor injuries, and they were holding him until the risk of infection passed. What else do we got today? A man in Florida apparently was charged with keeping exotic snakes without the proper permits and without the proper enclosure. Apparently authorities working on a tip actually found an enclosure on his back patio that had a rattlesnake in it that was not properly marked, it was not properly secured, and he did not hold the proper permits. So, bad news for you. And of course, the Scotland SPCA is calling for tighter restrictions on the sales of exotic animals. They said apparently their shelters are filling up like crazy and these things are just being left there. So yeah, they're calling for tighter restrictions on the retail sales of exotic animals, and hopefully for you keepers there in Scotland, it doesn't trickle down to tougher regulations on the keepers, you know, but keep your eyes open, you know, because it could happen very easily. And the rattlesnake roundups have begun. They're well underway. The Sweetwater rattlesnake roundup, as a matter of fact, is well underway. They claim, of course, that their whole roundup is not about killing the animals, but about educating people, and they say that while the rattlesnakes are killed, they're killed away from public view and skinned and cooked and served, and yeah, typical rattlesnake roundup kind of stuff, I guess. And of course, that has been all your news for this Monday, February 21st, 2011. If you'd like to read any more of these stories, those links are right down below here in the description, and as always, if you're still watching, my name is Jason White. Now you know what's going on in the reptile world. Be good to each other.